Celia Mendoza is a correspondent for The Voice of America, based in New York. She is outside the Time Warner building. And Celia, you've been on the scene for a few hours now. What has it been like?
Really, you can feel the tension in the environment here in the Time Warner area. Not only the people that were evacuated, but those that were passing through. A lot of tourists that didn't know what was happening.
We don't know if it's a female or a male, but we know that the number went from 20 dead to 21. That's now the official number of the people that the gunman killed here, right in this Walmart located in El Paso, Texas, in the morning of Saturday. And that is something that definitely is worrying this community, especially because initially were 26 hurt, now 25. Some of them is still in the hospital.
Now, let's talk about what the president said. What stood out that may resonate with the people of El Paso?
Here, the community has mixed feelings about what is happening in the words of the president. Some of them believe that it's a little too late. Others believe that it's a good time to start talking about the issues that these shootings are presenting, especially when he said that in one voice, we should condemn racism, bigotry, as well as white supremacy.
VOA's Celia Mendoza has covered this issue from both sides of the border. She joins us from Osaka, Japan, where she's covering the G20 summit. Celia, let's start with the G20. These countries are not only the strongest economies, but also at the center of the global migration governance. How much focus is the G20 giving to the issue of migration this year?
Patsy, openly is not in the agenda, however, is one of the most important topics in terms of what the United States has been doing using the tariffs as well as their economic policies to drive immigration policies between the United States and those countries where most of those migrants are coming from.
Celia, you mentioned the idea of discussions around some kind of political process to move this forward. Is there an acknowledgement today in the meetings that took place or among the leaders who were present that that type of political process is going to have to be necessary, that what's happening, the uprisings and everything within the borders of Venezuela might not be enough to see any kind of change?
It's something that is actually particular. They are trying to get the political options. The foreign minister of Peru, who actually answered questions from reporters, said that they're open to reach out to different countries, whichever countries they are. But at the same time, they said that they are supporting any actions by Juan Guaido, and especially the freedom operation that was launched this week.
A very, very difficult situation for Venezuelans. We have seen people that have walked and crossed Colombia from Cucuta all the way to Ecuador to be able to go to Peru to try to find medicines, food, and a future for their families. But also we have seen a lot of children, pregnant women that have gone through this journey, and that is evidence that things are not going well in Venezuela. We also have seen the help given by the international community, by the receptor countries. We have Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, even countries like Chile have offered help to all these people. And this is something very particular for the region. We haven't seen this movement of people ever in the region, and that is something the United Nations has compared with the crisis in 2015 in the Mediterranean.
White House officials have insisted that the focus should be on the shooter and that it has nothing to do with whatever has been said elsewhere. How are the people of El Paso taking that?
It's very interesting. I just spoke to two gun owners, Hispanics, one born and raised here in El Paso, the other one came from Mexico and live here. Both have guns. Actually, one of them has assault weapons. He said he had the same gun that the shooter has, but he believes that the actual problem is the rhetoric and the words expressed by the president in rallies, as well as when he started his campaign. They don't forget the fact that he said that Mexicans are bringing drugs, that they're rapists, that they're criminals, and that's something that the president will have to come to terms. They are expecting an apology. We don't know if the president is ready to do that. Some others believe that the president is trying to do his best, and they believe that it's important to hear what he has to say when he comes to El Paso, Texas.
Now, Guaido's comment about on the 23rd, the aid is going in. I mean, what is the evidence that that is going to be able to happen? Is that some sort of effort to force it in? What is your sense on what he was talking about there?
Every time we have asked the opposition leaders, and especially Lester Toledo, which is the person that Guaido put in charge of the coordination of the international aid, they have been very careful of giving any details of what is the plan, how they're going to bring the food and the medicines into Venezuela. Just 3 days ago, Diosdado Cabello, which is one of the leaders of the Maduro government, came to the border in tienditas, which we have to remember is the images that were seen around the world of the containers blocking the bridge. Thank you, Mr. President. Celia Mendoza from VOA Latin America. You met yesterday with President Putin, and the readout says that you touched the subject of Venezuela.
Yeah.
Can you expand a little bit of what was said during the meeting about Venezuela? And also...
Well, first of all, we're following Venezuela very closely. It's a catastrophe. It's what socialism can do. I use it all the time. I mean, it's what socialism can do. It was one of the richest countries 20 years ago. It's got among the largest oil reserves in the world.
You mentioned that change of regime takes time, and then Venezuela has
Oh, sure,
proven...
it takes time.
But do you think that is a possibility?
Problem is, so many people are leaving Venezuela. It's like going to be a ghost town. It's a very bad thing that's happening in Venezuela. Nobody's seen anything quite like it, actually, especially from the standpoint that they were so wealthy.
President, do you think that it is a time for change the strategy? And do you still believe that Juan Guaido is the person to lead the country? You have backed him up?
Sure. You have a lot of strategies. I have 5 different strategies. I could change any moment. But in the meantime, we're helping them from the standpoint of aid. We're getting as much aid as we can.
Lourdes hopes to see her son, 6-year-old Leo, back in the streets of San Pablo, San Marcos in Guatemala, where he was raised and used to play with her friends and family. According to her lawyer, that could happen very soon.
What they have told me is that I have to go to the airport for him because he's going to come with a companion there. But they do not tell me the date. They just tell me that they will send him to me, but they do not tell me the date.
According to CBP, they need more agents and resources to be able to patrol remote areas like this one between Arizona and Sonora, Mexico. Authorities explain that most of the people that cross through here don't want to be detected.
I was at my job and they attacked us because we had banners. Because of banners. They attacked the community because they had pails and spoons. Pails and spoons, that was all. We attack with this and they attack us with this. It's a 9mm cartridge. A 9mm cartridge.
According to family members, many protesters end up at this location, Chipote, which is known for their torture chambers that were used during the Somoza era. Now, the family members are waiting for information about those that were detained during the events that happened during the past 5 days. The police, as well as the emergency crews, are working to try to identify any possible victims. We know that I-70, the interstate highway in the city, is being closed both ways due to the flooding. In some areas, people have been rescued. At least 10 members of a family were rescued from the attic of their home. Most of the migrants with children released by ICE are brought here to the Benedictine Monastery. Catholic Community Services is in charge of this location, and they said that 80% of the migrants are Guatemalan and 40% of them don't speak Spanish, only a native indigenous language.
These images shared with VOA by Prensa Libre speak for themselves. 106 people deported from the United States arriving Tuesday in the Guatemalan capital. Rafael Perez Domingo and his family were among the passengers.
I was locked up in jail. I was frustrated. I felt upset because I thought I wasn't going to recover my family and they were going to stay in the United States. But thanks to the consulate here that has been helping me.
According to the Foreign Ministry Office of Guatemala, the 11 family units that came back into the country this Tuesday were separated before May, when the Trump administration implemented the zero-tolerance policy.
After 43 days in the custody of U.S. immigration authorities, Jenny Gonzalez was released on bail. She had been separated from her 3 children on the southern border of the United States when they tried to enter the country without legal documents. She spoke with the Voice of America when she left the migrant detention center in Eloy, Arizona.
I'm going to look for my children. It has been very difficult, very hard for me. I felt that my heart broke into 1,000 pieces. They snatched my children from my arms.
For 5 weeks, Gonzalez was detained in this immigration center, 3,800 kilometers from New York, where her 3 children were sent. Gonzalez was distraught.
I asked them to please give me a call, and they said no, there were no calls.
19-year-old Zucker Alvarado still tears up when he remembers his father and grandparents. They were left behind in Venezuela when he and the rest of his family migrated to Peru 11 months ago with nothing in their pockets.
Sí, pienso mucho en mi familia.
I think a lot of my family. Since I was little, I had that upbringing not to waste food, not to waste a drop of water, because you know that in Venezuela, there are many people who would like to eat that little bite of food that you did not eat.
More than 53,000 family units entered the U.S. without authorization through the southern border in March, according to the CBP, which VOA accompanied on a tour this week.
Within the last couple of months, we've been averaging about over 1,000 apprehensions. This week, we're somewhere around 750 to close to 800 apprehensions a day.
Far from the Orinoco River in Venezuela, Baudillo Centeno, a migrant from the Guarao tribe, says his family had no choice but to leave.
We had to leave because of our children and their upbringing, because our children cried of hunger.
More than 600 people live at the Pintolandia refugee camp in Boa Vista, Brazil. Most are members of the Guarao Venezuelan indigenous group.
Venezuelans' values, medicine, and food are lost. We're very sad. We lost our possibility to harvest in Venezuela. The community we love now is lost.
Celia Mendoza está precisamente en Buenos Aires con las conclusiones de esta reunión. Celia, ¿cuáles fueron los puntos principales que se trabajaron durante este nuevo encuentro del Grupo de Lima en Argentina?
Belén, es súper importante para este grupo respaldar a Juan Guaidó, pero avanzar en esta agenda que durante esta declaración entregó 15 puntos. En esto se hace énfasis a temas fundamentales como es la crisis migratoria, el apoyo para los países que han recibido venezolanos, también el tema de los testaferros y los grupos que estarían generando problemas de seguridad en la región y nombraron al ELN como uno de estos.
Celia Mendoza conversó con esta familia y con muchos otros en El Paso. Celia, la visita del presidente Trump está prevista para este miércoles. ¿Cuál es el clima para recibir al mandatario?
Realmente es un clima mixto. Hemos escuchado a muchas personas quienes aseguran que no debería venir aquí, legisladores que representan el estado de Texas, quienes están de acuerdo con esta posición y le piden que simplemente cancele este viaje.
Celia Mendoza estuvo acompañando el desarrollo de estas negociaciones. Celia, ¿cuáles son los cuestionamientos de este sector de la población venezolana?
Lo que realmente sabemos, Belén, después de que el gobierno de Noruega emitiera un comunicado de prensa oficial, es que continúan estas negociaciones en un proceso continuo y expedito. Camiones comerciales como estos cruzan diariamente la frontera entre México y los Estados Unidos. Sin embargo, según las autoridades, migrantes son escondidos dentro de estos lugares, encerrados por aquellos que los están traficando sin pensar en las consecuencias, ya que dentro de este lugar las temperaturas pueden llegar hasta los 45 grados centígrados. Y de no ser por la patrulla fronteriza que encuentra a estas personas, muchos de ellos podrían perder la vida dentro de estos camiones. ¿Cuántas personas se están arrestando por día aquí en El Paso?
En la área urbana del Paso estamos entre 500 y 600 personas. En el sector
Están buscando que se incluyan temas como el cambio climático, que se establezcan caminos para solucionar problemas internacionales como el de Irán y que temas como el de los refugiados y los migrantes puedan ser considerados a pesar de que no estén seguros de que estén en este momento dentro de la agenda de este grupo. Muchos de ellos aseguran que no han podido utilizar las trochas, los pasos irregulares que se han establecido debido a que el río se ha crecido y ha generado dificultades para muchos de ellos. Una situación que se desarrolla en este punto entre los dos países.
¿Cuáles son los cargos hasta el momento?
Belén, se está buscando que a este hombre se le presenten cargos por haber cometido actos de terrorismo dentro de los Estados Unidos. Y el incremento en el número de migrantes indocumentados que entra a los Estados Unidos ha generado aún más tensión en pueblos como este, Arivaca, Arizona. Como pueden observar, esta señal que se encuentra enfrente de la Oficina de Ayuda Humanitaria envía un mensaje directo a las milicias. Celia Mendoza, VOA News, Eloy, Arizona. Celia Mendoza, VOA News, Guatemala City.